Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you hear me well. First of all, I wanted to thank the organizer and you and Dr. Rafael Lopez for inviting me to present ShORRT. Perhaps we can see the first slide, yeah? So this is about operational research, and it's about a short oral regimen for rifampicin-resistant tuberculosis. I will explain what this project is about overall, and then what are the progress in the region. So if you can, yeah, the rationale. So why this project? This comes from a discussion we had with Global TB, colleagues at Global TB in Geneva, where after the first rapid communication, and that is the same, and Dr. Oscar Bernal mentioned it as well with the BPAL regimen. It is mentioned at different moment in the guideline, MDR-TB guideline, that a country should use certain regimen, modified regimen or BPAL under programmatic research condition. So we had this discussion about how to help the country to conduct this operational research and how this operational research is not a barrier for the implementation of these new treatment regimens that are proposed, but are to be used under operational research conditions. So this is why this project was started to be developed. Next slide. And we have, next slide, please. And we have two objectives. One is clearly to facilitate the conduct of operational research for the introduction of the use of oral shorter regimen for MDR-TB or TB patients, but also, and that is a problem for Global TB in Geneva, trying to gather harmonized data, so trying to push for an harmonized way of collecting data in order to also better inform MDR-TB guideline in the future. Because sometimes there are no guideline or no guidance from Global TB, not that they are against something or something, it's just that the data is not there. And when you think about it, the National TB Program are collecting a lot of data on a lot of things. So why not trying to harmonize the data collection, and in order in the future eventually to pool this data and inform the guideline. So it's really these two objectives that drove this project. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yes. So what is it about? It's a research package where we have a protocol, which is a generic protocol. There are some part of the protocol that cannot be completed and need to be adapted by the country, such as the background, in the background section, for example, the epidemiological context in the country. But more or less everything is written, and then the country need to choose the study design, the treatment regimen, and it's already there and easy to use. On top of the protocol, we also developed data collection tool that is existing in paper, but also in electronic format, and also some study procedure and training material. So all that is a research package that should help the country to develop and conduct this sort of operational research. This is existing in English, but also in French, Spanish, and Portuguese. Next slide. So us at TDR, we are coordinating the overall project, but obviously this is not the project of one or two persons. It's a really a collaborative approach that we try to have, involving financial body, implementers body, NGO, of course our colleague from WHO at HQ, regional and country level when they were willing to contribute. So we try to be as exhaustive as possible to be sure that all together we could agree on a certain set of data and a certain way of collecting this data, and everybody can do the same depending on the funding, but at least we could pool data in the future if that is needed. So really, TDR is just there to coordinate. And if tonight I'm speaking to you, actually there is a big team behind me who has really helped with the development of the protocol and all the document for this research package. Next slide, please. Yeah. So when it comes to the protocol, there are two different parts in the protocol. It's a bit of an a la carte protocol that we have developed. The part A is what is very classical. So the outcome of interest are the classic one, safety and effectiveness. So that is very classic in operational research studies for medication. And what we are also proposing in the part B is other outcome of interest that the country might or might not integrate in their protocol. So we propose a chapter on quality of life. We propose something on stigma, also a study, sub-study for evaluating the feasibility, the acceptability of this new oral regimen, but also the cost, because most of the time when a national program is trying a new strategy, they might have the money at the start for launching this, but for long term, they need to have some idea of the cost to after explain why it is cost effective to put the money there and not there. So there is also a sub-study that is proposed that is cost and cost effectiveness. And country can integrate or not in the master protocol this type of component to have some information on this parameter. Next slide. So regarding the data collection system, as I was saying, we developed a paper database, a paper data collection tool that is classic, but we tried also to develop some electronic data capture. Why? Because it reduces the workload and you don't need a data manager or data entry clerk to enter the data. And when you think about it, especially in operational research, the data is there. The data is in the patient file, it's in the lab register, it's in the TB clinic. It's just a matter to put this data in one place, in one database. So it's not, normally we should not add additional data to be collected. It's just, the exercise is just to put all this data in one place in the database, and the electronic capture might be the easiest to be done. And what we are proposing to use to the country is a REDCap platform, and the country can use it under the WHO license. So this is a way for them to have the data that is in a secure place, even if it's their data. The WHO doesn't have access to it, but the data is there and in a secure place. Next slide, please. So how to use this ShORRT package? There are different situations, if you want. Some country don't have any protocol, didn't really develop nothing, so then they can use the full package. Some country already started to develop a protocol or started to have some study tools that are developed. So they will just either add. There are some country who did their own protocol, but they have adopted just the data collection tool, for example. Or there are some country who had a protocol, but there were some elements they didn't think about, and they are integrating it with using the ShORRT package and using the data collection tool. So it depends from one country to another. The needs might be different, and we are just adapting our support to the needs of the country. Next slide. This is at TDR. We have a web page that is dedicated to this research package, where you can find all the generic protocol and also other tools that we have developed for evaluating yourself, how prepared you are for conducting this type of study, or when you're about to conduct the study, a checklist like we would do for initiating the study to double check that everything is in place for effectively starting the study. So there are a couple of tools like that, again, translated in English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese, that you can find on the WHO TDR website. Next slide. When you plan a study like that, you need to think about a couple of things, like the drug procurement. Drug procurement is a big item, because you need to be sure that if you want to investigate a new treatment regimen, you need to have the drug that are procured. So you need to have some discussion either with the Ministry of Health or Finance, or with a global fund for countries who are supported by global fund, to be sure that this drug can be procured. This is the funding and resources that you need to find. Of course, you need to think about the timeline for adapting this research package, the time for implementing it, and probably the technical assistance that you will need, and the opportunity to use them. Next slide. And so there, we have developed, as I was saying, some checklists like that, where you think about the drugs, the sample size, the study design, the lab capacity, the ethical approval, the data collection tool, the study governance, and all these type of elements we go through with a checklist, and help you to think where you are in the development of your project, and what type of budget you need to really go for, to be sure that you're able to develop to conduct this project. Next slide, please. Yeah, so click again, yes. So I just wanted to, it's not your region, it's Cambodia, but just to highlight the fact that because of this research package, from the moment a country has decided to go for the study and the moment really they start to enroll patients, it's very short. It's in Cambodia, it was 5 months. Actually, it could have been 3 months if COVID was not there, but it has been a delay of 2 months. And it was 3 months. Why? Because first of all, there was no COVID at this time, so we had time to visit the country and really adapt the protocol with them in 1 week time. And then after they submitted to their ethical committee, I should say that we have also at the WHO, the ethical approval of the WHO ethical committee. So that helps the national ethical committee from the country to also, that facilitates the ethical approval from national committee. And then after the training has been done very quickly, that adaptation of the database, and then in 3 months' time, they were ready to start. So this can be as quick as that, because everything more or less has been written. So it's just an adaptation and then submission to the ethical committee. Next slide, please. Yeah. So what's happening in your region? First of all, I should say that all what we are doing in the region of the Americas is in close collaboration with the WHO regional office, especially Dr. Lopez Rafael, and also another colleague, Dr. Perez Freddy, and both are and Oscar as well. So all three are helping us to really discuss with the country and try to first of all, inform the country and then support the country. In terms of information, we had the first webinar that was in July, where we invited national TB program from the region of the Americas and also a researcher to discuss the ShORRT result package and how they could be supported for this type of study. And after this, for the country who were interested and who also were judged by the team at the regional office as being in incapacity of conducting this type of study, because they have the lab capacity, because they have the human resources and other parameters we have defined. Then we had individual follow-up discussion with country one by one to provide support in the adaptation of the study protocol. Next slide. So far, we have 8 countries who said they are interested and engaged in the adaptation of the ShORRT research package. They are all at the protocol development stage. Some countries have already a protocol, and it's just a matter to discuss with them and then get ethical approval. The next step for the end of 2020 is for this country to submit to the National Ethical Committee for getting ethical approval. Here again, I explained that the WHO Ethical Committee gave approval. So this is a document that we are providing to the country to help in the submission process, if it's helpful, of course. For all these countries, we need to adapt the data collection tool, the electronic version, to be sure that the data that we are proposing to collect is fitting with what they are collecting. And so this is one-by-one support that we need to do, Q4 2020. And hopefully there should be study initiation in all of these countries, either end of Q4 or early 2021. Next slide. So as a summary, I would say that short on how, because of operational research, there is an implementation and the use of new regimen that the country would not benefit if it was not under operational research. And we hope that because the country is engaged in operational research and getting some result, this will help for policy change after in the country when the country will find this new regimen beneficial for that patient. So we'll all have a common goal. That is, we are looking at national solution, but also, as I was explaining, it's very much important to gather data together and then having the possibility of merging this data and informing the guideline. That's why it's important that we have an harmonized data collection and also an harmonized way of conducting this type of study. And this is what this research package is about. Obviously, it's also a change in the paradigm of how the guidelines currently are developed in HQ. I would say that prior to this, clinical trials were really the gold standard, and they stay the gold standard. There is no discussion on that. But more and more, it is recognized that all the data that the National TB Program are collecting on effectiveness, on safetyness, I would say, on other parameters that are not collected in clinical trial, might be important also to consider when it's about deciding and developing guidelines. So this is when now National TB Program have a say and have a role and responsibility for also informing the guideline. And they have the capacity because this data is collected anyway. So it's just a matter to put it in one database and try to do it in a harmonized way. So I will stop there. Perhaps the last slide is just to acknowledge a person who contributed to the development of this research package or are helping us for also implementing this research package in country. Thank you very much.